So I feel like I need to make this video again because I have talked about this in the past, but there still seems to be some people out there that think that Prismatic Evolutions regular ETBs are going to get reprinted into the ground. Like this ETB is some product that they reprint a ton of, but when you look at Scarlet and Violet and what's been happening with these specialty ETBs, you will see that this really hasn't happened. People still like to go back and compare everything to Sword and Shield when times are super different. Whenever I see comparisons, people saying, oh, this is going to be just like Chilling Reign or Fusion Strike where they reprint these boxes into the ground, or it's going to be like Crown Zenith and Shining Fates when they reprint everything in the ground. It's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? But the likelihood of those comparisons being what actually happens versus when you compare to what's happening in Scarlet and Violet, I feel like what's been happening in Scarlet and Violet, like those sets, if you compare it to those and what's been going on with them, it's more relevant because we're in a different time frame, we're in a different era. So people that compare things to Sword and Shield, it's a bit different in my opinion. Well, like I said, it's not impossible. I'm not discounting that it can't happen, but the likelihood that it's going to happen like that versus what's been going on with these other Scarlet and Violet sets, I think what's happening with these other Scarlet and Violet sets, it's more relevant information because it's newer. We're in the same era. So I recently made a video talking about Prismatic Evolutions ETBs and how the opportunity to buy them in the low hundreds. Like at one point, you could have bought them for 110, a little bit less. It was a good opportunity on this restock we've recently had. Now, still people said, it's too expensive. It's too expensive. It's going to go even further. They're going to reprint this whole set to the ground, ETBs, everything. It's all going to get lower. Okay, you can have that opinion, but I'm just showing you the data we have from Scarlet and Violet to show that this whole idea that Pokemon's going to reprint ETBs into the ground like Crown Zenith and Shining Fates, I feel like it's a little bit ridiculous when you look at what's happened in Scarlet and Violet, which like I said is probably more relevant information. So do I think they're going to reprint Prismatic Evolutions like plentifully? Yes, I think it's going to happen. I don't think it's not going to happen. But people don't understand that it really depends on the product they reprint. You think Pokemon's going to reprint every single product of Prismatic Evolutions they made? You think it's going to reprint normal ETBs, PC ETBs, binders, poster collections, booster bundles, 2-pack blisters, surprise boxes, 3 tech sticker collection boxes? You think they're going to reprint every single product? No, they never really do that. They usually pick a few products that they reprint. For example, main sets, they've reprinted booster bundles, booster boxes, and sometimes, ETBs as well. But for specialty sets with all these other products, they rarely, I think, like reprint every single product. Like that usually doesn't happen. What they usually reprint is booster bundles. That's been proven. If you look at Scarlet and Violet, era, specialty sets, you will find that there's been plenty of booster bundle reprints, but not really ETB reprints. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize here, and what some people don't understand when they say that Prismatic Evolutions ETBs, they're all going to get reprinted into the ground where they go, lower. Because if you really think they're going to go below 100 or 110, you probably think they're going to MSRP. So if you think that's going to happen, then I guess we're on a different, page. But I'm just showing you guys what the data shows from previous Scarlet and Violet era specialty sets, that these ETBs, they haven't gotten reprinted into the ground. Is it possible Prismatic is different because they made these statements and it's a newer set in a different time where the bull market and everything and all the hype for it? Yes, that could be a good argument. But if you're looking at what's previously happened to these specialty sets, ETBs really haven't gotten reprinted regardless of how expensive they got. Does Pokemon, for newer sets, probably not want things to be this expensive like Prismatic? Sure. But if you look at previous sets that have gotten expensive and they're still in the reprint window, why hasn't Pokemon reprinted them? Now, this has been an argument that I've made previously when I talked about this whole, thing with specialty set ETBs and people complaining that, some of these are too expensive. Then tell me, why hasn't Pokemon reprinted them? Why have they reprinted other products? These are some questions where if you could answer them and tell me why they haven't done so, then maybe you can make a good argument against it. But for me, I find that, Pokemon, they're reprinting other products that make more sense. And ETBs aren't the most efficient product to reprint to get packs into the market and to decrease prices. For the specific product, sure, yeah, obviously printing it would decrease the price for that specific product. But in terms of getting packs out into the market, this is not the most efficient way. You think about, logistics here, right, with shipping and stuff. ETBs, they hold 9 packs, right? They have all these other things. They have sleeves, coins, energy cards, all these other cardboard things. And what is the MSRP? Like $50. And how big is the box compared to like a booster bundle, which they have reprinted previously in the past a lot, compared to the ETBs, which they really haven't. Like, you think about it that way in terms of them trying to get prices down and trying to get packs of a certain set into the market. It doesn't make much sense for them to reprint ETBs. So that's where I see the argument being made that I guess ETBs being reprinted like a ton, it doesn't really make much sense because it seems like they've changed the direction towards using booster bundles to get packs into the market, and that's what we've seen. And a very, very good example here, in my opinion, is 151. 151 is still in the reprint window. It's not that old. It still can get reprinted. Tell me why. In the past year, right, these ETBs have grown 240%. If you even just zoom into where this market started to become crazy, right? 6 months ago, this was $100, which is double MSRP, right? And now they're at lowest listed at $230. You tell me why during this time frame of the last 6 months of these going up, why haven't they reprinted this? Can someone tell me if Pokemon really does care about these specific products getting expensive and lowering the prices? Tell me why they haven't reprinted this, right? Why is it still this price? Why this is way more expensive than Prismatic? It still can get reprinted. It's still in the reprint window. Why haven't they done it? Can they still do it? Sure, but they haven't done it. What have they done though during this time frame of this product going crazy? What did they reprint? Booster bundles. Now this is the argument I make, is that they've changed their ways of reprinting things, and the most efficient way to get packs into market and get I guess some people the opportunity to buy some of these is through booster bundles. Because if you think about this product in terms of logistics, super small, right? Has 6 packs. It doesn't cost them nearly probably as much to produce as an ETB with all those other components. It makes more sense they're going to reprint this product, right? And I've talked about this. These have gotten reprinted multiple times within the past like 6 months, and prices have gone up and down for these because of these restocks. And it just seems like this is the way that they like to just introduce packs into the market. As you can see here, there's been some times where these have decreased a good amount because of reprints, and they've gone back up. And I think recently, whatever reprint we've gotten, it really hasn't done much. But yeah, booster bundles just seem to be their way of reprinting sets to get packs into the market, not ETBs. And I don't see anyone out there. If you in the comments down below don't agree with me, you can explain to me why they've reprinted booster bundles instead of ETBs for 151 during the time frame when 151 ETBs were skyrocketing. If you can give me a good argument, I guess you can let me know. But other than that, the way I see it is that it's just not efficient for them, and they'd just rather use booster bundles. Now next here, another relevant comparison: Paldean Fates ETBs. You look at the year chart, how much these gone up. Past 6 months, how much these gone up, right? At one point, it was a little bit above MSRP. Now it's a little bit over double. It's almost triple now MSRP. Paldean Fates, right, has gotten very expensive. Why haven't they reprinted these ETBs? You can see in the past year, no slowdown in growth, right? Because they haven't reprinted it. Why haven't they reprinted it? It still can get reprinted. It's newer than 151. Where's the reprint for ETBs at, right? If there was any crashing ETB reprints like we were back in Sword and Shield, where is the evidence of that? You go to the booster bundles. What has recently happened in the past month? They gotten reprinted. Why did Paldean Fates booster bundles get reprinted and not ETBs? Same argument. Why hasn't it happened? It seems like they've changed, right? Why have they decided to reprint these and not ETBs? Question to be asked. But like I said, I think it's because it's the most efficient way to get packs into the market, and that's just how I see things. Some people may still not agree, but it's just the data that I'm using here. Now, Shrouded Fable, a little bit of a bad comparison because it's a newer set. No one really cares about it. Prices for ETBs are pretty much MSRP. Booster bundles, I don't think, gotten reprinted, so this is kind of relevant, but just had to put this up here because it's a specialty set in Scarlet and Violet. Now, here, lastly, we have Prismatic Evolutions. Now, like I said, I recently made a video talking about these. People don't agree. People say, you're overpaying. It's too expensive, $100, whatever. I'm waiting for this to go down to MSRP. Well, good luck with that. If you want to wait and for that to happen for the most expensive set of pretty much all time in modern history, you can do that. But if you were, in my opinion, a little bit smarter, you would at least have bought some on this restock we've gotten recently. I don't think it's a bad idea or even thought to buy a little bit of something when prices dip from like 140 to 110. Like, I don't think that's a bad idea from a restock. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't at least buy something. Like I said, you don't have to go crazy and buy, thousands and thousands of dollars if you're scared about more reprints in the future that may happen. Sure, just buy some, average it out, because guess what? It's better to buy a little bit, right, than to buy nothing, just in case it doesn't work out like you thought it would. Because if you think this is going to MSRP, and let's say they never reprint the ETB again, and they reprint, let's say, booster bundles, well, that was your opportunity to get a discount, and you didn't act on it at all. You're timing the market, you're playing a little bit of the risky game, but hey, if you're finally missing out and you don't want to buy at this price point, sure, I can understand that. But if you look at previous history of what's happened with ETBs, and like I've showed you guys, they really haven't gotten reprinted into the ground like some people argue with. Buying on this restock would have been smart, right? At least something. And you still, if you want to make the argument that maybe because of this recent market and their statements they've made that they're going to specifically reprint the ETBs, you can go ahead and I guess believe that, because I can't guess what's they're gonna do to this set. But I'm basing decisions in what I say based on data here in history of Scarlet and Violet, how it hasn't happened. Like, people say this is gonna get reprinted into the ground for the ETBs, they just haven't done it. So I will continue to stand on what I say and my beliefs, because I'm just basing off of data and history, not just based on, oh, they're going to do it just because they want to decrease prices. How many times have we heard about that in the past and it hasn't worked out, right? And booster bundles, they've recently restocked. It's not a reprint, but this would be a product that I would say that I would agree with people saying that, what, buying even on this restock maybe wouldn't be the best idea ever, because they seemingly reprint ETB, or not ETBs, but they seemingly reprint booster bundles a lot, and we have evidence of that. So that's just my explanation on especially ETBs, and how a lot of people don't understand that just based on Scarlet and Violet, things have changed drastically with Sword and Shield. If you're still making comparisons to Sword and Shield, it's a little bit of outdated information in my opinion. If you can find me reprints or huge reprints that happen with these, Scarlet and Violet era, especially sets, ETBs, that would, present information that it could happen to Prismatic. But so far, we don't have any information of that. So that's just me. I'm basing off of data. And if you still think they're going to crash and ETBs are going to go to MSRP, go ahead, just buy nothing, and just wait it out. But for me, I have bought ETBs in the low hundreds, very low hundreds, because I personally think in comparison with 151 ETBs are like 200, $30 now. And it's like what, a little bit, it's what, maybe is it about a year older than Prismatic Evolutions, somewhere around there. I see Prismatic Evolutions ETBs, if they don't get reprinted into the ground, in a year from now, I see them being the same price or more than 151, and buying them at $100 then wouldn't seem like a bad investment if they can grow that much in a year. And I truly believe that can happen with Prismatic. Why? Because it's a generational set. It's the most expensive modern set by far, has all these features to it, and I think Prismatic Evolutions, it has a stigma. I just truly believe that since so many people the people have a bad taste in their mouth with the set because of the pull rates, because of the availability, and that's why whenever you talk about Prismatic and these prices, everybody is upset. But when you look at other sets like 151, when they're way more expensive than Prismatic, nobody really complains. But I think it's all just time perspective. Once this gets older, people become accepting to the price. It's just because it's newer and has a stigma, I believe, that people just always hate on it. But that's just my opinion. So that's all I want to talk about here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with me, or if you don't, tell me why you don't agree with me. Why do you think that Prismatic Evolutions ETBs are going to get reprinted into ground, even though we have no evidence of that happening in the Scarlet and Violet era? So that's all I want to say here. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.